In the polished world of Hollywood, Ron Howard is the ultimate nice guy. But staying at the top for 60 years requires more than kindness, it requires a thick skin. Behind his famous smile lies a history of clashing egos and difficult sets. Howard didn't just witness greatness, he survived it. These are the 6 actors who challenged his patience and showed him the industry's sharpest edges. Number 1 is Frances Bavier, the mask of the matriarch. To millions, she was the warm Aunt Bee. But to a young Ronnie Howard, Frances Bavier was his first masterclass in the professional disdain archetype. A classically trained New York actress, Bavier viewed a rural sitcom as beneath her. She lived in a state of icy professional disdain, once even taking a swing at Jim Neighbors with an umbrella. From her, Howard learned that the character is often a lie. You can create a masterpiece of warmth while standing in a room full of ice. The term evil here refers to the total destruction of a child's illusion. For young Ronnie Howard, that Aunt Bee the world loved didn't exist. The disconnection: Bavier was a New York stage snob who despised the lowbrow humor of Andy Griffith. She created a cold vacuum on set. The umbrella incident: she was so easily agitated that when Jim Neighbors, Gomer Pyle, was playfully singing behind the scenes, she reportedly snapped and physically attacked him with her umbrella. The recluse: her resentment was so deep that she moved to a small town in North Carolina, draped her windows in black plastic, and refused to speak to the cast for decades, leaving Howard to realize that some people in Hollywood are hollow icons. Number 2 is Yul Brynner, the tyranny of the icon. On the set of the 1959 film The Journey, 5-year-old Howard met Yul Brynner, a man who didn't just play kings, he believed he was one. Brynner ruled the set through psychological intimidation, moving with a terrifying grace that demanded total submission. This atmosphere of fear taught Howard that while tyranny can produce a performance, it creates a brittle environment. Howard's famously relaxed sets today are a direct reaction to the emperor model he witnessed in Brynner. Brynner represented the evil of absolute, ego-driven power. To a 5-year-old Howard, Brynner was less a co-star and more a terrifying dictator. The rule of silence: Brynner demanded a sterile set. No one was allowed to speak or make eye contact unless he initiated it. The intensity: Howard recalls Brynner's predatory stillness. He would stare through crew members as if they were invisible. For a child, this was psychological warfare. The lesson: Howard saw seasoned, grown men shaking with fear before a shot. This taught him that old Hollywood power wasn't about talent, it was about intimidation and fearmongering. Number 3 is Shelley Long, the analytical anchor. By 1982, Howard was a young director proving his authority on Night Shift. There, he encountered Shelley Long, whose meticulous analytical anchor process threatened to grind production to a halt. Long wasn't a diva, but her obsessive perfectionism, demanding the molecular structure of every line, was an intellectual blockade. Howard had to learn that nice guy wasn't enough, he had to be a clear guy to keep his movie from being sucked into a star's singular orbit. Long's evil was the strangulation of the creative process. She used her intellect as a weapon of control. The 100-take demand: on the set of Night Shift, Howard was ready to move on, but Long would often refuse, demanding just one more because she felt the molecular energy of the scene wasn't right. The scene stealing: there were persistent rumors that she would subtly shift her positioning during Michael Keaton's lines to force the camera to focus on her. The friction: she wasn't a shouter, but her passive-aggressive questioning of Howard's authority nearly broke the young director's spirit. Number 4 is Russell Crowe, the volatile alchemist. Russell Crowe was a lightning strike. On A Beautiful Mind, Crowe's method intensity led to multi-hour debates and a demand to shoot in chronological order, a logistical nightmare. Howard realized that with a volatile alchemist, you don't fight the fire, you channel it. Crowe pushed Howard out of his comfort zone, forcing him to become a leader who could command a room through sheer intellectual stamina. Crowe represented the evil of unpredictable aggression. He didn't just disagree, he challenged Howard's right to lead. The physical threat: during the filming of A Beautiful Mind, Crowe's reputation for physical altercations preceded him. The air on set was heavy with the threat of an explosion. The power play: Crowe famously insulted the producers and insisted on a chronological shoot that nearly bankrupted the production. He was testing Howard, seeing if the nice guy would fold under pressure. The mental toll: Howard has admitted these sets weren't fun. They were a battle of wills where Howard had to tame the lion every single day just to get a single frame of film. Number 5 is Tom Sizemore, The Lost Highway. Tom Sizemore represented the tragic liability of vice. His evil wasn't malice, but the total abandonment of the professional contract due to addiction. On Howard's sets, where reliability is sacred, Sizemore created a vacuum of anxiety. Howard learned the hard way that you cannot kindness someone out of a crisis. He had to pivot from mentor to guardian of the production, learning that the greatest good is the protection of the collective effort. Sizemore represented the evil of stolen time. To a director, time is the most precious resource, and Sizemore murdered it. The disappearing act, Howard would have hundreds of extras ready, the sun perfectly positioned, and Sizemore would be missing, lost to his personal demons. The set morale, bringing a liability of vice onto a set poisons the atmosphere. The crew becomes resentful, and Howard had to play the fixer, covering up for a man who was essentially a ticking time bomb. The betrayal, for Howard, who views the crew as family, Sizemore's behavior felt like a betrayal of the sacred contract of filmmaking. Number 6 is Henry Winkler, The Paradox of the Sidekick. The most complex friction came from Howard's best friend. As the Fonz became a cultural phenomenon, the network began treating Howard with a disrespect that stung. They even floated the idea of changing the title to Fonzie's Happy Days. Howard wasn't jealous, he was protective of his dignity. This erasure of the lead was the final push Howard needed to stop playing characters and start building an empire as a director. This wasn't an evil person, but an evil situation created by Hollywood greed. The disrespect: when the network saw the Fonz was selling lunchboxes, they treated Howard, the star, like trash. They stopped inviting him to meetings and talked about him as if he were an extra. The near quitting, it got so toxic that Howard, the most professional man in show business, threatened to walk away from his own show. The choice: this friction was the ultimate villain in Howard's acting career. It showed him that in Hollywood, your friends at the network will stab you in the back the moment a cooler product comes along. For more shocking stories about the shadows of the silver screen, stay tuned to Prestige Buzz. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you're always in the loop.